you can't get the records unless there's a court order. Is that right? Okay. Is there a policy and procedure about that?
There is a code, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna need those records. I just want everyone to understand what they can get and what they can't get and how they have to get it. That's all I'm trying to do, okay?
This is Susan Bassi. In this video, our reporting takes on police records and how those records can impact court proceedings and your Second Amendment rights. When we talk about police records, we're really talking about three very different types of information. First, there are public records. These are the documents that the public and reporters can request through formal records requests. And they produce records such as department budgets, rosters, policies, or training manuals. Then there are police reports. These are incident or arrest reports officers write. But here's the catch. Police reports are not considered public records, and sometimes even people impacted by them might have a hard time getting them without a court order or an attorney. And finally, police records hidden deep inside internal affairs divisions, where investigations, complaints, and disciplinary findings about officers are kept confidential. These are usually records excluded from public records requests, and they're among the most tightly protected records in a department. So today, we're looking at how these records, especially the confidential ones, are handled differently when it comes to police officers versus everybody else. And to start, we're turning to an investigative reporter outside of San Diego who's doing something rare. They've gotten legacy media to report on the overlap between policing and family court cases. This overlap matters because in family court, allegations or findings of domestic violence can determine whether someone loses their right to carry or possess firearms, and it might impact employment options as well.
In August, Team 10 revealed the officer was accused of installing hidden cameras in her ex's home.
We've interviewed police chiefs from all over the country and found that police departments rarely investigate family court files of police officers before hiring them. But here, these two police officers worked for the same department, and the allegations were raised against one of the officers, both in internal affairs and in the family court.
Hidden cameras in your ex-husband's home?
Officer Stephanie Cockrell didn't want to answer any of our questions as she left a heated hearing in August. Now, a judge has granted her ex-husband Tyler a restraining order. The two San Diego police officers divorced in 2021, but the judge made the decision this month after finding Stephanie was, quote, less credible.
In California, family court judges issue restraining orders on behalf of spouses, former spouses, and intimate dating partners. These cases land in family court, where the evidence gets put before a judge and the attorneys act as prosecutors and public defenders. They have to get a judge to decide who is credible in the case, meaning who is telling the truth about being fearful or about the allegations at the center of a restraining order. And a judge has the power to issue a restraining order for everything from sending your ex emails or quoting Bible verses to including serious conduct that is documented in police reports. But here we have two police officers who are seen as being credible when they testify in court in other cases, but in this case, a judge determined one of them was not believable.
The judge's ruling says Stephanie engaged in stalking and harassment. The order requires the officer, who the department says has been working in an administrative capacity, to surrender her service weapon and to stay away from Tyler and his children. Tyler told Team 10 he's, quote, very happy the court was able to see through the lies and look at the evidence, adding it was unfortunate the department did not take her actions seriously.
While this reporter did a nice job of his coverage bringing this information to the public, he didn't address a lot of issues that someone comfortable reporting on family court might have addressed. For instance, when a judge issues a restraining order, they not only require one person to relinquish their ability to own and carry firearms, but they also typically require that that individual stay a certain number of feet away from the other. And if these two police officers are working in the same department, it begs the question how that possibly could be accomplished.
In August, I revealed Stephanie was facing termination from the force for stalking, theft, and untruthfulness. But after becoming police chief last year, Scott Wall overturned her looming termination.
He agreed with the commander's recommendation that Stephanie's alleged behavior and what was proven did not justify termination and reduced it to a reprimand.
And it's not the officer's first time getting into hot water with the force. In 2016, she admitted to hacking the phone of an officer she was having an affair with. Last month, she announced she was suing the police department after she says false rumors spread she had an affair with Wall, which she denies. This summer, I reported the city paid a law firm to launch a secret investigation into allegations against Wall. The city has refused to say what triggered the investigation, but Stephanie says Internal Affairs interrogated her after an anonymous letter to the city council alleged she had an affair. I asked the police department for an interview with Wall.
This reporter did a good job of trying to document his news-gathering activity. He was reaching out to town officials and also to the police chief himself in order to discuss the complaints and the gossip that had been circulating around his department.
She had an affair. I asked the police department for an interview with Wall so I could learn why he overturned Stephanie's termination. Spokeswoman Ashley Nichols sent a statement that said, quote, "The San Diego Police Department is aware of the order which pertains to a family court proceeding. SDPD cannot provide further comment on personnel matters." I followed up asking if Stephanie turned in her police-issued gun and when Wall was available for an interview. But I didn't get a response.
She is a loyal officer and a mother who has been punished, silenced, and harassed for being a woman in a predominantly male-led organization.
Unlike others going through the family courts, this police officer had a civil attorney dealing with her employment issues in the department, and she also had divorce attorneys.
Were you ever interviewed by outside investigators with a law firm probing allegations that were swirling around the department that you had an affair with Police Chief Scott Wall?
I think we're gonna not answer any questions because to my knowledge that investigation is still ongoing.
You were in the news about 10 years ago for a hacking scandal with Verizon.
Police officers using their training and department resources against a spouse, an ex-spouse, or an intimate partner is a problem all across the country.
Court documents say that in addition to installing hidden cameras in her ex-husband's home, Stephanie also put tracking devices on his vehicle.
From police officers to individuals who are associated with the nonprofit Women SV that we've been investigating, we hear about people in Silicon Valley going through family courts and tracking each other and stalking each other all the time. The problem is, most other reporters are not often listening to what's being said in family court.
Stephanie did not return my request for comment this week, but told us last month.
Becoming a police officer is the only thing I ever wanted to do.
Now it seems she'll have to do that job without her gun.
All journalists covering local town governments and police departments work a little bit differently. Whether we're making records requests or reaching out for comment from police chiefs, and sometimes we have to take our grievances to the town in the form of public comment.
Pause for a minute, please. These verbal communications are limited to matters that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the town council.
Oh, that is what this is. Yes, I am Charlie Kirk, Rob Morris, Tyler Robinson. I am Charlie Kirk. Lee Faggot is Tyler Robinson.
We will not take those comments. The other thing I would caution is that it's important that people are respectful and do not call people names and pejorative terms and in this setting. And so I will pay a little more attention to the next couple of speakers and make sure that we follow those rules. Susan Bassi, and then Joe Enns.
My name is Susan Bassi. I'm a longtime resident here in Los Gatos. I'm also a local publisher. I publish the community magazine My Out and About, and now I'm an investigative journalist, and I primarily report on the courts, law enforcement, and what we're seeing related to domestic violence overlapping to both. Public records are so critical to our society and our democracy. And as a journalist, I am trained to get public records. They are built into our Constitution, that the California Public Records Act, and all local and state agencies are obligated under those laws. In 2020, our town allowed our police chief to hire Officer Jonathan Silva in this town, knowing what he had done to a mentally unstable man in the library at San Jose State University. The chief never took accountability for that. He called it that Silva he had made a mistake. If you saw the video of how he treated a human being, that's not a mistake, and we hired him. Around that same time, I, as a freelancer, started reporting on why the town hired this individual and how he did it again. I was not alone. NPR, NBC Bay Area, the San Jose Mercury News, and all other legacy media reported on that. I came to the police department and I live streamed my records request, one of the first times I had ever done that. And the public was interested in how I request records. I post examples of how I make records requests, I post the follow-up records, and my reporting depends on public participation in those reports. I learned today that the Sunnyvale Police Department produced records that indicated that after I had gone to the Los Gatos Police Department, having been a resident in this town for over 10 years, that Sarah Tata, who was employed as the records and communication employee for the police department and has a name similar to the police chief, I don't know if that is related or not, but she made $222,000 a year in 2020 when I made those requests. And what did she do after I made those requests? She sent a Bassi Bolo alert around to area departments claiming that I had been disruptive in the department.
This email was one record produced in 2,000 pages from the Sunnyvale Police Department after we dropped our last video. And this one email shows that the town of Los Gatos has not been compliant with the Public Records Act. It also shows that they had an employee misusing department resources and issuing bolos against me because she didn't like our reporting. And that is a misuse of department resources. And it also shows a problem with department management coming from the police chief.
And what did she do after I made those requests? She sent a Bassi Bolo alert around to area departments claiming that I had been disruptive in the department. I'm sorry, but the police chief did not call me back today. And Ms. Field, if you're going to do the department differently and set a different culture, you better call me back. The town attorney has not called me back. The town has not complied with the California Public Records request. I had to get records related to the business of this town from Sunnyvale, and they did not give those up easily. Last time I was here, you asked when Judge Towery had asked to do the ride-along and when there were records. I had them from 2013 and 2015. I now know that the town also has records for 2020 and 2021 and has concealed those. It is a crime to alter, deface, obstruct, or delay public records, and I expect better compliance from this town. Thank you.
Joe Enns.
And up next, we're going to show you what else was in the records about a woman with mental health impairments running a nonprofit or NGO that we've been investigating, who was training police officers and judges how to respond to domestic violence issues.
Told us last month.
Becoming a police officer is the only thing I ever wanted to do.
Now it seems she'll have to do that job without her gun. Austin Grabish, Team 10.
The law professor that Team 10 interviewed says the officer can ask the court for her police-issued gun back. She would need to get a psychological evaluation and prove to a judge she's no longer a threat.